Welcome to the deep dive. For this session, we're plunging into a stack of sources about a figure often overlooked in Roman history, Portia Cato, sometimes known as the Iron Woman.
That's right. A fascinating figure.
And the central question we're exploring today is really this. Why are so many incredibly significant women in history, particularly those maybe embodying Stoic principles, so frequently absent from the historical narrative?
Hmm.
You know, the biographer Robert Caro once famously observed how history often focuses on the grand battles, the dramatic public
Yeah,
events.
the gunfights, as he put it.
Exactly, overlooking the quiet, persistent struggles, like his example was hauling water, or the unseen suffering of a woman recovering from childbirth. It's a powerful point about historical bias, isn't it? That tendency to overlook quiet strength.
It absolutely is. And Portia's life, well, it offers a potent counter-narrative. I mean, despite the conspicuous lack of credit for women in the traditional history of Stoicism, Portia truly rivaled her famous father, Cato the Younger.
In what way?
In her sheer steely determination, her unwavering patriotism, she was introduced to Stoic philosophy as a child and uh, quickly dedicated herself to its principles, virtue, reason, self-control. Her story is a really powerful example that helps us sort of rectify this historical oversight.
Okay. So our mission for this deep dive then is to unpack Portia's life, her incredible courage, and what she genuinely represents for Stoic philosophy. And yeah, all while challenging the subtle biases and the historical accounts that have shaped our understanding, let's try and truly understand her profound impact.
Let's do it.
So Portia Cato, born around what, 70 BC?
Around then, yes. Daughter of the formidable Roman statesman Cato the Younger.
Right. And her first marriage was to Marcus Calpurnius Bibulus, a staunch ally of her father.
He served honorably alongside Cato in Rome's brutal civil war, but tragically, he did not survive it.
And what's truly striking here is the sheer weight of personal and political tragedies Portia endured so early in life.
It's immense, not only the loss of her first husband, but then the devastating suicide of her beloved father, Cato,
A huge blow.
and the subsequent fall of the Roman Republic that her family cherished so deeply. It's reported that as her family attempted to, pick up the pieces of their shattered lives, Portia remained remarkably resolute, just a testament to her inherent fortitude.
And somehow, amidst all that heartbreak, that political upheaval, her heart managed to find affection again. She remarried.
Yes, to Brutus, the philosophical and principled senator.
You can't help but wonder, right, if maybe his intellectual rigor and principled stand reminded her of her revered father.
It's very possible. There seems to have been a real meeting of minds there beyond just political alliance.
Okay, so here's where Portia truly steps into the spotlight. In 44 BC, as a deeply perceptive wife, she quickly intuited that Brutus was planning something monumental and dangerous.
Yeah, she sensed it, though she wasn't entirely sure what.
And this brings us to an astonishing act of self-mastery that Plutarch recounts, a moment that definitively showcases her profound fortitude.
It really does. Rather than simply demanding answers, Portia decided she would prove her trustworthiness and her mental toughness to Brutus.
Ow!
Well, Plutarch tells us she took a small knife, stabbed herself in the thigh, and then waited.
Just waited.
Yes, her goal was apparently to see how long she could endure the excruciating pain, bleeding profusely, shaking in near delirium from the wound, without crying out or revealing her struggle. It was a direct physical demonstration of her stoic commitment to endurance.
Wow. And when Brutus finally came home and saw her.
She confronted him with these incredibly powerful words. She said something like, "Brutus, I am Cato's daughter, brought into thy house, not like a mere concubine, but to be a partner in thy joys and a partner in thy troubles."
Powerful stuff.
She goes on, "I know that woman's nature is thought too weak to endure a secret, but good rearing and excellent companionship go far towards strengthening the character. And it is my happy lot to be both the daughter of Cato and the wife of Brutus. Before this, I put less confidence in these advantages, but now I know that I am superior even to pain."
It's just amazing. Shakespeare, by the way, captures the raw intensity of this scene quite poignantly in his play.
He does. In this moment, it provides a critical insight into Roman trust and, well, Stoic philosophy in action.
How so?
Roman history, unfortunately, is rife with examples of conspiracies being revealed under torture. So while it sounds extreme to us, Portia's act of self-inflicted pain was a concrete demonstration of her ability to withstand interrogation. It's a profound application of premeditatio malorum, that Stoic practice of preparing for adversity.
Right, anticipating the worst.
Exactly. And Brutus, witnessing her incredible feat of fortitude, was so deeply moved that he immediately informed her of the plot to kill Caesar.
Immediately, just like that.
According to Plutarch, yes.
Yeah.
Which raises an important question for us, doesn't it? What does it truly take to earn someone's complete trust? And how does demonstrating control over one's own pain and fear empower significant, even life-or-death action?
It's an extraordinary display of resolve, absolutely. But then, Plutarch, after detailing this impressive feat, seems to almost counterbalance it.
There's a shift.
He offers this contrasting depiction of Portia on the Ides of March itself, the day of Caesar's assassination. He describes her as incredibly distressed, unable to bear the weight of her anxiety.
Yeah, rushing out, asking messengers about Brutus, eventually fainting.
Exactly. This portrayal almost seems like it's providing evidence of female fragility right after her earlier display of incredible strength. It feels off.
This is where we need to critically examine the historical narrative and the potential for bias. It seems highly unlikely, doesn't it, that the same woman who could stoically hide a gushing leg wound, who had endured such immense loss already, would suddenly be unable to control her anxiety for just a few hours.
It doesn't quite track.
No. This inconsistency really highlights a subtle historical bias. It suggests that perhaps the men who have written our history, as Kara might say, felt a need to balance perceived female strength with a demonstration of, well, appropriate female weakness. And what's even more telling is that Brutus and his co-conspirators, they trusted Portia with this massive secret, more than they trusted Cicero.
Really? Cicero?
Yes, they kept Cicero in the dark precisely because of his, quote, high-strung nature. But they told Portia.
Wow. Okay. So what's the deep takeaway from this contrast between the resolute Portia and the, well, anxious Portia Plutarch paints later?
I think it underscores that deciding on a bold deed takes immense courage, sure, but its execution requires an equally profound measure of patience and self-mastery, especially in those nerve-wracking moments between the decision and the action. That's a core Stoic principle, isn't it? Rational judgment in the face of uncertainty.
Right, holding steady.
Exactly.
Okay, so the assassination of Caesar itself, it was a brutal affair.
Very much so. The senators, driven by their, fervent belief in the Republic, descended on him with a savagery that apparently surprised even themselves. Brutus's own blows landed, and in the frenzy, several senators, including Brutus, accidentally wounded themselves.
And a key detail here is Brutus's decision afterwards, right? To quickly calm his conspirators and spare Mark Antony, Caesar's most prominent supporter.
Which, well, it might seem like an act of mercy or restraint at the time.
Turned out to be a fatal error.
Absolutely. It led directly to their downfall. Antony wasted no time.
This reminds me of Cicero's wife's blunt advice during the Catiline conspiracy back in 63 BC, that famous plot to overthrow the Republic.
Carentia, yeah.
She urged Cicero to execute his enemies to destroy the cancer before it could spread. It contrasts sharply with Brutus's reluctance to shed more blood, his abhorrence of violence.
It does. And it raises an important, almost uncomfortable question. In these high-stakes situations, what is the true cost of perceived mercy? Perhaps Portia, who truly embodied that Stoic principle of virtue as the sole good and was known for her pragmatic, deed-oriented approach. Maybe she implicitly reminded Brutus that deeds cannot be only half done.
That sometimes you have to see things through.
Exactly. That sometimes showing mercy to the undeserving can actually be a grave injustice to everyone else. His restraint, sadly, would ultimately prove to be the undoing of them and their entire cause.
Yeah, so the traumatic return of civil war to Rome, it must have been incredibly difficult for Portia, especially after the last one had stolen her first husband and her father.
Unimaginably hard. And it eventually led to her final, heartbreaking parting with Brutus. He had to flee, didn't he? To begin what would be the fight of his life against the forces of Mark Antony and Octavian.
And it's truly moving to hear Brutus's words to Portia as they parted. He really showed his deep respect for her character.
He did. He rejected the traditional gendered roles. He quoted Homer's Odyssey, saying he had no mind to address her like Hector did his wife Andromache. Ply loom and distaff and give orders to thy maids.
Right, the typical domestic sphere.
Instead, Brutus affirmed, "For though her body is not strong enough to perform such heroic tasks as men do, still, in spirit, she is valiant in defense of her country, just as we are."
Wow. That powerfully highlights his belief that she was his intellectual and philosophical equal. a Stoic in spirit, regardless of physical strength.
Precisely. He saw her as a partner in the deepest sense.
And then we come to her end, which is complicated. What stands out to you about the conflicting accounts of Portia's death?
Well, you have Plutarch's really dramatic account. After Brutus's ashes were sent home, Portia resolves to depart from this earth, following her father's example of suicide rather than submission.
The famous coal-swallowing story?
Exactly. When her attendants turned their backs, she rushed to a fireplace, picked up glowing red coals, and quickly swallowed them, dying quite literally as a fire-eating lover of freedom. It's incredibly dramatic.
Was not the only account.
No. Other sources claim she died of illness before Brutus's death at the Second Battle of Philippi, while others suggest it was illness and loneliness combined that drove her to suicide. So it's murky.
And Cicero's letter from 43 BC.
Ah, yes. Consoling Brutus on Portia's death. That's particularly poignant. He writes, "You have suffered indeed a great loss, and must be allowed to grieve under so cruel a blow, lest to want all sense of grief should be thought more wretched than grief itself. But do it with moderation."
So even Cicero acknowledged the need for grief.
Yes, which raises that eternal question that even Stoicism grapples with. How does one truly respond to the loss of a loved one? Can a philosopher truly shrug off such pain through apatheia, through pure reason? Or is it perfectly understandable that even a Stoic, committed to virtue but still human, might be profoundly cracked by such an immense loss?
It's a deep question. And Shakespeare, in his astute observation of the human experience, actually has his character Brutus, who often serves as a stand-in for a Stoic philosopher. Seemingly react with typical Stoic detachment to the news of Portia's death. He says, "I am sick of many griefs. No man bears sorrow better. Portia is dead."
Right. And this is where we see a stark contrast, I think.
Right.
Brutus, in Shakespeare's portrayal, and maybe in his own life, had a flair for the dramatic, a desire perhaps to be credited for his virtues. He wanted his stoicism to be conspicuous.
A performance.
Perhaps partly. So when a messenger later appears with the same news, Brutus sees an opportunity to perform his stoic example for history. By farewell, Portia, we must die, Messala. With meditating that she must die once, I have the patience to endure it now.
Interesting.
This public performance is quite different from Portia's private, silent, resolute action. She was always about demonstrating stoicism through deeds, not just discussing it, always all action, no talk in a way.
So what Portia's life ultimately teaches us, then, is her unwavering practical commitment to the core Stoic principles her father embodied. We must do what needs to be done. We must not waver. We cannot be afraid.
Exactly. Her actions, particularly that thigh wound, her resilience in the face of immense loss, they were living embodiments of these ideals.
And that is her enduring legacy.
I believe so. She proved that courage and philosophical commitment, they don't know gender. They know only the people who are willing to embody those principles and put in what it takes, and those who aren't. She stands as a powerful, often unsung testament to the practical application of Stoicism.
It's a Porcia Cato story. It not only compels us, really, to reconsider the forgotten heroes of history, but it also challenges us to critically examine the biases embedded in the narratives we inherit. Which brings us to a final thought for you, the listener. What other quiet heroism in history, or even, in our own lives, has we overlooked because it doesn't fit that conventional, often gendered mold of strength or action?
It's a great question to ponder.
Something to think about. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Porcia Cato's extraordinary life.